Well, I got a Shark Rotator and it's acting up. You know, my wife told me she was using it, made a horrible racket and started smoking and all kinds of stuff. So she turned it off and says, "Here, honey, fix it." Anyway, come along, let's see if we can get this thing figured out. Well, I guess first thing we better do is turn it on and see what it's doing. Well, that sounds horrible. It sounds kind of like internal damage. I guess we better start digging into it. Don't forget to unplug it. If you don't have one of these magnet bolts, you should probably get one. I just throw the screws in there. One more. I got an update. I took out an awful lot of screws. You got to get this plastic bucket out. It's got screws inside of it, right? Don't lose the little spring. Let's see. Take off the little red thing that goes right here. Looks like that. Take that off. It's got two screws down inside. I got underneath of it, I had to flip this down, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those two back down in there are hard to get at, but if you crank this to the side, you can kind of get in there. Take those out, and now, if you lift, this whole thing comes right up and off, and we have access to the motor. This thing is vibrating like the devil, but it doesn't feel like, oh, maybe it is the shaft. Yep. Oh, but wait a minute. There's a bunch of play inside there. So because of all that play, this thing's starting to go way out of balance when it's spinning and it's making a horrible racket. We got to get into it and see what's going on, but I don't know. It probably has a bearing that's gone bad. Well, let's see if we can open it up. I don't know how to get this shroud off. I assume it's pressed on, but I don't want to break it. There we go. Hey, we got it. Look at that. Persistence pays off. Boy, I don't know if we're going to get this fixed or not, but think about it. If you don't try, you don't fix it. Well, I suppose you could just go buy a new one. That's your option. Let's get that off. Well, it's a really sloppy 12 millimeter. I tried everything else, and this is the best it is. Now the question is it reverse thread or? Nope, it's not reverse thread. Okay. It's a T20. This little bushing went in there, in the center. The bearing's right behind it. How do we get this plastic thing off? This bearing is almost seized. It's absolutely ruined. I can see metal shavings coming out of it. If we can replace that bearing, it might be salvageable. Yeah, look at this. But it's probably pressed onto the shaft, and that's the other thing. We'll have to devise some way to get it off. Well, from here forward, it's me after the fact because I forgot to check the connection on my microphone. So it is what it is, but these are 697ZZ bearings. I'd ordered them. It had been like 2 weeks at this point. They finally came in. So pull the brushes out. You got to release those from the rotor before you go pushing the rotor down through. Here we're just tapping it out, trying to get the rotor to release. Works pretty good with the little socket. We're kind of going down the rabbit hole with this one a little bit. I looked around online, couldn't really find a replacement full motor. Well, I found used ones on eBay, but you know, it was like $40 or more. And boy, at that point, you don't even know what you're getting. Here we're going to try and figure out bearings. You know, I mean, the bearing on the top of the picture we know is bad. That's the failed one for sure. But the bottom one, at this point, I'm finding out it's not really that great either. It was probably usable, but not the best. A little circlip right there, and here's we're gonna push it out. This is the best I could come up with. I tried a couple things prior to this, but this worked okay to pop the circlip down. And right about this point here is where I made a mistake. So I accidentally hit the windings with the screwdriver just a little bit. I put a nick in it, and here I'm wondering, oh, I might I might have done it. This motor might not be any good anymore. But at this point, what have I got to lose? I'll keep pushing it through, you know. We'll see what happens. Throw it away at the end or throw it away in the beginning. I don't know. I don't really have the right tools to push these bearings off, so we're just making do. I had my son come help me, and we're tapping them out, and, you know, let's see what happens. Worked okay, actually. This one worked pretty good right here. Got to put that circlip back on now that we've got the bearings off. Make sure the new bearing gets seated properly. This bearing actually was pretty easy because we're just going to push this one right down to the end of the shaft and put a little brass rod on the top so we hopefully don't damage the threads on the other end. So whether or not this works, I don't know. This kind of stuff I like to do. And why are we going to throw it away for you? We can try. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. We'll put it all back together and then we'll find out. If it doesn't go in the landfill, even better. Oh, pretty. This one slid on real easy. I was trying to figure out what was the deal, but in the end, it was pretty snug relatively. It went on a lot looser than I guessed it would have, but whatever, it works. We'll stick it all back together anyway and see what happens. You guys have those things around your shop that you don't know how you ever lived without them, like the vise I was just using there. I didn't have a vise for the longest time. And even as simple as that work mat underneath, like just the bare wood was kind of a pain in the ass, and I found that work mat online. Quality of life stuff, you know. It's worth it. And you accumulate it over time. Boy, I hope I never have to move, though. With this Shark vacuum cleaner, I've been doing a little bit of research since it's been broken, and I'm not super sure I want to buy another Shark vacuum. I mean, it wasn't my purchase anyway, and it probably won't be on the next one, but I think I'd look for something with more parts availability. I couldn't find the new motor for this motor. This motor was unobtainium. I mean, I found used ones on eBay, right? What's the point in that? We'll see what happens here. I mean, I already know what happens because this was all yesterday. But you guys are going to have to stick around and find out, right? Yeah, we'll find out here pretty darn soon. I got to push the brushes in. Don't forget to smash them in all the way. They'll click into place. They got little tabs that stick up and they'll snap right in. This thing doesn't go on as far as I thought it was supposed to. I kind of smashed on it for a while and actually had to take it back off and fix it a little bit. But at the end of the day, it works just fine. I forgot to record for a minute there, so we kind of warped up to pushing the motor in. Pretty easy, straightforward. Reassembling is actually really easy. I was real surprised how easy this thing all came apart. A couple of screws on the bottom here. Yeah, I think it's 6 on the bottom there. We'll go over them here shortly. Oh, something about this vacuum cleaner I wanted to mention. I'd never had this feature until this vacuum cleaner, but it has an independent motor for the brush roll. There's no belt. It just powers on separately. And I thought that was ingenious. And you're going to push a button to turn it on and off. And yeah, less issues with no belt involved. A pretty nice feature. Well, here we go. We're getting darn close. The filters are going in. We're going to click it on and see what happens. So something I debated not mentioning, but I figured I'd best be transparent about is, at this point, I was expecting the motor to go up in smoke because it stunk like the dickens. Remember those windings I damaged earlier? Yeah, well, something's wrong with it. I mean, it is functional. Do I trust it? No. Win some, you lose some. But yeah, go out, try and fix yours. What's the worst could happen?